Buongiorno. That's the Mediterranean Sea. That's the town of Genoa, where the salami comes from. That's some sort of picturesque Italian village. You got your terraced vineyards, you got your impossibly narrow roads. The sun is shining. I'm a happy guy. Now, I came to Italy to drive that Ferrari, and normally, when you're in Italy with a bright red Ferrari, you want to drive it. But, man, I'm telling you, right now, all I feel like doing is going on break, having an espresso. Maybe I'll take up smoking again. Because remember, that's the California, right? That's the bad one, the chick car. That's the one Ferrari makes you buy before they'll sell you a good one. But I am American. We do have our work ethic. And how bad could it be? It's good. It's good. It's a good car. Oh! Yes! California T Handling Speciale, also known as the HS. What is it? Well, it's basically an $8,000 option that gives you better handling. Obviously, the California is not a sports car, it's not a supercar. It's what Ferrari likes to refer to as a GT car, a Grand Tourer. It's a hardtop convertible, and by the way, one out of every 3 Ferraris sold is a California. The Handling Speciale, it kind of bridges the gap between a Grand Tourer and a sports car. Big changes include reprogrammed magnetic dampers and stiffer springs. For you nerds, 16% stiffer in the front, 19% stiffer in the rear, and the sport mode has been reprogrammed. It's more aggressive, more sporting. And again, this is for people, they maybe want the practicality that a car like this affords you, because you have a back seat, which isn't really for people since a water bottle can barely fit back there, but your duffel bag will fit there just fine. But they don't want kind of the all-out supercarness of a 488. Could they afford a 488? Probably. This thing starts at $210,000 and goes way up from there. Ferrari was showing us some paint options last night that start at 50,000 euros. So it's not a poor man's car. While this car is the Handling Speciale, you wouldn't say the interior is so speciale. Compared to other Ferraris, it just doesn't feel so special. And compared to the competition, it's lacking in world-class materials. As for the overall looks, I think it's very good looking from the front, especially the front three-quarter view. However, it's kind of weird looking from behind. And this is a problem shared with all folding hardtop convertibles. You have to put that metal top somewhere, and it results in a big fat butt. Not to swallow Ferrari's marketing, but it really does bridge that gap between a GT and a sports car. It's kind of like the AMG SL63 in that way. It's just brutally quick and actually fun to drive. Very well balanced. It's done a wonderful job on this chassis. Weight distribution, 53% of the weight's in the rear. Obviously 47% up front. Awesome stout brakes. Big giant carbon ceramic Brembos. 6 piston calipers up front, 4 in the rear. Stops on a dime. Transmission, if it's not the best transmission in the world, it's tied with the best in the world. Oh, this mix they put together, right? The better damping, the better spring rates, the sounds. It's intoxicating. It's really good. It's wonderful even. And it's supposed to be wonderful because it's a Ferrari. But that's not always the case. See, Ferrari marketing and 14-year-old kids on the internet would have you believe that just because there's a prancing horse on the fender, it's a good car. I can think of a bunch of Ferraris that aren't. One that pops to mind is the 208, which is kind of like our 308 GTB, only because of Italian tax laws, it had a 2-liter V8 and couldn't get out of its own way. Then you had the Mondial, nobody's idea of a good time. The 348, a sports car literally developed by a test engineer with his arm in a cast. And of course, the original Ferrari California. Remember, up until the last moment, that car was gonna be a Maserati, and then voila, it had a horse on the hood. The best analog I can think of is the Porsche 924, which originally was supposed to be a Volkswagen. It even had the minivan engine, and it was terrible. 0 to 60 in about 12 seconds. However, Porsche kept refining it and working on it, and eventually you had the 944 Turbo, and that was a great car. Just like this, the Ferrari California T Handling Speciale is a hell of a car. It's a hell of a Ferrari. The other thing, like most Ferraris nowadays, shift light indicators on the steering wheel. Why that's not federally mandated in all cars, I will never know. But you don't even need to look at the tach, and it's probably a good thing, because then if you did, you would see that it goes up to 10 grand even though red line's at 7,500, which is a little silly. Great grip, relatively small tires, 245/20s in the front, 285/20s in the rear. They're P0, same tire you get in a Hellcat, which actually would give me pause since a Hellcat tire breaks loose at any opportunity. And they did a great job programming the electronic differential in the back. A lot of confidence in this car, a lot of grip. Very well sorted. The sport mode, as I mentioned, is sportier, but I've actually been running around all day with ESC off like we are right now. Because the car is just so balanced and neutral, why have any electronics on? Don't need them. This thing is so quick. I mean, 560 horsepower, probably does 0 to 60 in, something like 3.5, 3.4 seconds, maybe even a little quicker, right on the edge of what a rear-wheel drive car can do. Could it use another 100 horsepower? Sure, what couldn't? And we know that this engine can do an extra 100 horsepower because it's the same engine that's in the 488 GTB. Now that's a good-looking engine. This redhead is a 3.9-liter twin-turbo V8 that creates 560 horsepower and 557 pound-feet of torque. To give you an idea how torquey that is, the old turbo diesel V10 Volkswagen Touareg made 556 pound-feet of torque. And it's essentially lag-free power. Yeah, sure, it has 2 turbos, so there's going to be a little bit of lag. But if you're sitting behind that steering wheel and you claim you can feel it, then you can also feel the pee under your mattress. I'm talking to you, Jason Camisa. And it's quick. Now, Ferrari says this car weighs just a tick under 3,600 pounds, but that's one of those double asterisk Italian dry weight scenarios. I would guess this car is closer to 2 tons, but you wouldn't know it when driving it, man. It just feels fast. I'm drowning in torque. It's fabulous. And here's a trick that Ferrari pulled off, and this is very impressive to me, right? There's so much torque in this engine that on this road, it doesn't even matter what gear you're in. Second gear, third gear, fourth gear, you just accelerate. It really doesn't make a difference. But the transmission is so good. The shifts are so much fun, and they sound so good. And it's just so much fun to execute that you find yourself shifting a car you don't need to all the time. And that's quite the trick. To wrap this thing up so I can get back to driving and not talking to a stupid camera, if you're thinking about getting a Ferrari California, spend the extra $8,000 and get the Handling Speciale, get the HS package. It is so absolutely worth it. And I can say, surprisingly, that this isn't the bad Ferrari. This is one of the good Ferraris. This is a great Ferrari. Yeah. Hey there, Internet. Did you like that episode of Head to Head you just watched? Guess what? There's a brand new one. live right now at MotorTrendOnDemand.com.